This is a Fox News alert. The New York Times is reporting that in 2017, the FBI opened an investigation into whether President Trump was secretly a Russian agent. Trace Gallagher is following this report for us tonight. Trace?
Yeah, it just came out, Tucker. The Times is now reporting that in the days President Trump fired James Comey, the days after, as FBI director, law enforcement officials became so concerned about the president's behavior, they began investigating whether he'd been working on behalf of Russia. In other words, whether the president's actions constituted a threat to national security and whether Trump unwittingly had fallen under Moscow's influence. Now, the reasons given, the first was a letter Mr. Trump wanted to send to Mr. Comey about his firing, but never did, in which he mentioned the Russia investigation in the letter. And the second reason being that troubled investigators was an NBC News interview 2 days after Comey's firing in which Mr. Trump appeared to say he had dismissed Mr. Comey because of the Russian inquiry. The investigation also reportedly looked into the public allegations of whether firing Comey amounted to obstruction of justice. We all know that. The report says FBI agents had grown suspicious of Trump's ties to Russia during that 2016 campaign, but held off opening an investigation because of the sensitivity of the situation. Of course, days later, Special Counsel Robert Mueller took over the inquiry, and now it's apparently part of Mueller's broader assessment. Of course, no evidence has come out publicly that Mr. Trump was secretly in contact or took direction from the Russian government in any way, and there is no word of any sourcing on the story. We should note that Rudy Giuliani has also issued a statement saying, quote, "The fact that it goes back a year and a half and nothing came of it, that showed a breach of national security means they found nothing." And Giuliani said that a short time ago regarding the story. We'll get breaking news as it comes in. More on this from the New York Times. Tucker.
Trace Gallagher, thanks for that. So if you're keeping track at home, and get a pen and paper, because this is worth remembering, this is why you should never criticize the FBI. You think it's your birthright as an American. You can do it. I wouldn't try it, though. They might open an investigation into you without your knowledge into something appalling. Maybe it's beating your wife. Maybe it's dealing fentanyl to kids. Maybe it's betraying your country in some alliance with Vladimir Putin. You don't need to have done it. But once they investigate you, they can always leak, 2 years later that they were investigating you for this crime that you didn't commit, or at least they found no evidence that you committed. At least they never charged you for it, which is how our system is supposed to work. But it doesn't matter because you're instantly discredited. Don't criticize the FBI. Very unwise.
There is breaking news. This just into Fox News Channel. Michael Cohen, the president's former fixer and lawyer for over a decade, who was sentenced to 3 years in prison after implicating President Trump in a hush money scandal. Michael Cohen, we now know, has agreed to testify in the House of Representatives in the ongoing investigation on the House of Representatives' part, now led by the Democrats. Michael Cohen will testify before going to prison. Catherine, is this unexpected?
Well, the Democrats, once they took control of the House, made it very clear that they were going to reopen the Russia investigation. They made the charge that the Republicans closed their investigation without thoroughly looking at issues related to then-candidate Trump's finances. So I would say it is not unexpected. The question I have at this point, and maybe you have a little more information than I do sitting here, is whether this would be open or closed testimony. In recent weeks, as you know, the Republicans...
Open testimony.
Well,
we've just heard, and it will be live with cameras testifying before the House Oversight Committee.
Well, that's a very important development and a significant development because it will be in an open setting. The Republicans in the last session chose to have their witnesses do these under oath transcribed interviews because they said they were more effective. Democrats argued that all of this should have been in public, and that was also the argument of the former FBI director, James Comey. One of the criticisms Republicans may level is whether Cohen is credible given that he has admitted to lying to investigators and lying to Congress in the past, but Democrats will make the point that he's heading to prison and that he has really nothing to lose by stating the truth at this point, Shep.
Well, today is Thursday, January the 10th. The testimony is to happen exactly 4 weeks from today, right. Thursday, February the 7th. And I'm getting this information from a statement that Cohen himself has put out, I presume through his attorneys. Nevertheless, he's made the statement that he's going to do that. He cooperated back in the day, and Catherine, there were a lot of questions about whether they would ever really use him in any potential legal proceedings. I'm talking about the Mueller investigation.
Right.
This, of course, is completely separate.
This being
the House
the congressional
investigation,
okay,
separate
all right.
from the.
It is, yeah, absolutely. It's separate. And again, I think the way for folks at home to understand this is that when the Democrats took over the House and they got control and the power that goes with the gavel, they said that they were essentially turning the page and they were going to reopen some issues from the Russia investigation, but they were also going to explore new lines of inquiry in the Russia investigation, specifically these issues of the financing of candidate Trump and his family. So looking at the money trail, if you will. So Cohen certainly fits into that bucket, Shep.
Catherine, under the Democratic leadership, the chairman of the House Oversight and Reform Committee is Representative Elijah Cummings. And Elijah Cummings has just sent out a statement that I'll read for you. Quoting out, last November, the American people voted overwhelmingly for Congress to do two things: address the core issues that affect their daily lives and fulfill our constitutional responsibility to serve as an independent check and balance on the executive branch by restoring accountability and transparency. He goes on, the initial set of hearings will serve both goals by launching a broad review of the skyrocketing prices of prescription drugs, hearing directly from President Trump's longtime personal attorney, and focusing on sweeping legislative reforms to strengthen democracy in House Resolution 1. Chairman Cummings also made the following statement on this hearing on Michael Cohen, and I quote, I thank Michael Cohen for agreeing to testify before the Oversight Committee voluntarily. I want to make clear that we have no interest in inappropriately interfering with any ongoing criminal investigations. And to that end, we're in the process of consulting with the special counsel Mueller's office. The committee will announce additional details in the coming weeks. And then Cohen said he'll be testifying on February the 7th. So this, with history as our guide, Catherine, this sort of thing could be, well, quite a television event.
Well, listen, it would be the first time that we've heard from an extended period from Michael Cohen and also having questions from both sides of the aisle. Just sort of reading in between the lines from what you just attributed to Congressman Cummings, it does sound like they're just confirming that the special counsel is effectively sort of done and dusted with Cohen. Remember, he pushed that case up into another jurisdiction, so that was an indicator for many analysts that Cohen was not relevant to sort of the Russia piece or the collusion piece of the investigation. But from the congressman's statement, he wants to make sure that there isn't anything outstanding related to the special counsel, and then they will proceed. It's noteworthy that he's coming voluntarily and not under subpoena, because those committees have threatened to use subpoenas if necessary, to bring individuals in to testify. But certainly it will be fascinating to hear Cohen's side of the story, and also some of the backstory Republicans will push him on as to how he reached a point where he pled guilty to lying to Congress about a deal that never went through in Moscow.
Okay, I have two new things for our viewers. One is the details of the Michael Cohen statement, and then there's another from a lawmaker. Let me read Michael Cohen first. This is his statement, and I'm quoting, "In furtherance of my commitment to cooperate and provide the American people with answers," again, this is Michael Cohen, "I have accepted the invitation by the chairman Elijah Cummings to appear publicly on February the 7th before the Committee on Oversight and Governmental Reform. I look forward to having the privilege of being afforded a platform with which to give a full and credible account of the events which have transpired." But now we've learned more. This isn't going to be just a public hearing. There will apparently also be a closed-door hearing, and I get that from the Democrat of California, Adam Schiff. He is the new chairman of the House Intelligence Committee now that the Democrats have taken over there. And here's the statement of Democrat Adam Schiff, the chairman. "Mr. Cohen has expressed an interest in telling his personal story in open session, and we welcome his testimony before the Committee on Oversight and Reform. It will be necessary, however, for Mr. Cohen to answer questions pertaining to the Russia investigation, and we hope to schedule a closed session before our committee in the near future." So it sounds like there'll be one thing for the public, and then information on the Russia investigation, Catherine, separately and in camera.
But it also sounds to me, and I don't have the benefit of seeing the paperwork that you've got in front of you, unfortunately, but it sounds like you've got two committees really in play on the House side. You have the Oversight Committee, which is the public piece of it, in early February, and the new chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Adam Schiff, is saying that they also planned they also plan to ask questions of Cohen, but to do so in a closed-door, classified session, if you will. Now, that would be what they've done typically with witnesses in the Russia case, so Republicans, and now it appears to at least this limited extent with Democrats, and those are usually transcribed interviews as well.
Yep. Catherine, thanks so much. Always appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay, so here's some more context for you. The president has made clear, according to multiple reporting, this trip to the border and the White House statement, listening to his advisors on this matter. It's not like it was his idea. From the reporting, it sounded like he wasn't even sure how effective this sort of thing was going to be. But the president and his team have a message that they want out there, and their message is the border wall is important. I campaigned on it. It's important for national security. The message is, come on, let's all get in on this. So there's always an effort, no matter who's in the White House or in the Congress, to control the message. When the message strays, that's never a good thing. Well, now having a bit of a show hearing on Capitol Hill on the 7th of February with Michael Cohen, you wonder how that's going to play at the White House. John Roberts is out in the yard there. I can't imagine they're thrilled.
Well, Shep, anybody that I've talked to associated with this thinks that Michael Cohen's got nothing that could possibly implicate President Trump in anything that the Mueller investigation has been looking into vis-a-vis collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia. Don't forget, Cohen was involved in the campaign early on, and then he had a television interview where he said something that got him sort of booted out of the campaign, and then he was just kind of working for the Trump organization after that. So he might not know much about the inner workings of the campaign during the period in question anyways. But there is one other important statement here that we need to look at. You had the one from Michael Cohen, you had the one from Adam Schiff. There's also one from Elijah Cummings, in which he says, I thank Michael Cohen for agreeing to testify before the Oversight Committee voluntarily. I want to make clear we have no interest in inappropriately interfering with any ongoing criminal investigations, and to that end, we are in the process of consulting with Special Counsel Mueller's office. The committee will announce additional information in the coming weeks. So it may be that this February 7th appearance before the Oversight Committee may or may not happen, depending on what the negotiations between Elijah Cummings' office and the Mueller investigation turn up. I mean, if Mueller were to say, look, having Michael Cohen testify publicly before Congress could jeopardize aspects of a case that I'm building on, let's say, obstruction of justice or something else, they may have to delay that hearing. But we do know from a statement weeks ago from Lanny Davis, who is no longer Michael Cohen's attorney, but is working with him on PR consulting more than anything, that Cohen said he was going to tell his story after the Mueller investigation had wrapped up. But now, as you get this confluence of dates where the Mueller investigation is not wrapped up, you don't have the report yet, but then Michael Cohen is, staring at the ground rush of that March 7th date of going to jail. He's trying to get out there and tell his story before he has to go behind bars. So this may not happen. We're not sure at this point. But again, I've spoken to Rudy Giuliani and Jay Sekulow, the president's outside attorneys, about Michael Cohen on many, many occasions. And they, at least to me, have not expressed any concern about anything that Cohen may tell Congress or may tell Mueller for that matter. But then again, you can always have a public face and then a private one that I may not be completely aware of.
Very good. Understood. John, you're the best. Thank you so much.